One more thing I want to talk about. So I have made another terrible decision, and I started playing Path of Exile. And you're probably moaning right now if you play Path of Exile, because I've made a terrible decision. But I was very curious about it. I've been curious about it for a long time, and I just wanted to get it. Dude, I have a weakness for games that are way too complicated for their own good. Like, everything I heard about this game was like, oh, it's one of my favorite games of all time, but it's so complicated. There's so many systems, there's so many little intricacies and this and that, and like, God, it's such an information overload. And I'm like, dude, I play fighting games. You can't, I'm not afraid. I've played MOBAs, I've played fighting games, I've played card games, I've played a lot of fucking games with like complicated shit in them. Obtuse, non-obvious, complicated things, right? I can dig in and learn the ins and outs of a game like Path of Exile. Maybe not the ins and outs, but like, I can sink my teeth into it. And I think that's what's appealing to me about those kinds of things. It's almost like a challenge to me. I like things that I can sink my teeth into. And really like, okay, there's a lot of stuff here for me to learn and get used to and get a hang of and stuff like that. I think that's why driving was cool. Because it was like, oh, I could really get into this. I could really get into learning this skill. So Path of Exile, if you are not familiar with Path of Exile or how it plays or what kind of a game it is, it's Diablo. It's literally Diablo. I've never played a Diablo game before, but I was on Prox's stream one time when he was playing a Diablo 2 Remastered, and I watched him play that for like 3-4 hours, and then I started playing Path of Exile, and I was like, wow, this is literally just Diablo. It really feels like the devs, I'm assuming this is what happened, the devs were just huge Diablo fans and maybe were a little disappointed with how Diablo 3 came out. When was PoE, actually? Path of Exile. Yes, when did it come out? 2013. And when was Diablo 3? 2012. Okay, I see there. I don't know if it exactly lines up like that. Like, I'm assuming they didn't turn that game. They didn't turn PoE around in a year, but clearly people who really liked Diablo and wanted to make their own take on it. And then it's just been like, what if you had a Diablo game, but it was just updated continuously, like year over year over year, and now you end up with a game that is just gigantic. It is just ginormous. And I'm pretty deep into Act 3 so far. I've put about, let's see. What is this? Show me how much time. 18 hours. I put about 18 hours over the last couple days. Excuse me. Into it. And I have been enjoying it a lot. I have a soft spot for, like, you know me. I am all about the intense action games with like really like fast real-time combat and everything, where it's like really super highly challenging, just skill-based combat and all that. But then I see a game where I can make the number go up, and I say, ooh, tell me more. And, yeah, so, PoE is a number go up game, and I like it. I like it a lot. I like it when that number goes up, especially because so number go up will get me by on a game just based off of that, because I like seeing it. I like seeing number go up. But what will help it much more is if the act of making the number go up is itself enjoyable. So like Star Wars Galaxies, I dug into super hard, and then I dropped it because my number go up craving was fulfilled, and the game itself is not very fun. And it's actually very slow and has a lot of tedious, annoying mechanics from old school MMOs. I don't know if I will burn out the same way with Path of Exile, but I can tell you already, the gameplay of PoE is way more solid once I actually got into it and grasped the systems. And honestly, the systems aren't even that hard to grasp. Here's the fucking setup of Path of Exile. Okay, you are dropped into a world. You do quests. You walk around and kill shit. There is like one safe town per act, and then you just walk, and everything outside of that stuff just rises up to kill you. Interestingly, so I think where a lot of people get confused about PoE is, number one, the skill tree, and number two, the way that like the game, like the combat even works, like abilities and stuff, and it's not actually that hard to grasp. It's just very unorthodox. So essentially, in Path of Exile, abilities are not like in most MMOs, right? You just like your ability, you just have abilities. You just get abilities based off of what class you're playing, for instance, or what you're building or something like that. And you're just like progressing along a tree and gaining more skills, right? That you put on your hotbar. In Path of Exile, that's not how it works. Every skill is actually, it's a little gem. And gems can be placed into sockets that are on equipment. So every piece of equipment that you pick up has a different amount and color of sockets. And placing so let's say you get the fireball gem, right? You place the fireball into a socket of equipment you have on, right? Now you can use fireball. You can assign that to like a key on your keyboard. And it doesn't have to be on your weapon. I thought it had to be on your weapon. No, you can put a fireball on your shoes for all you care. But as long as it's on you and it's equipped, you'll be able to set and use the skill. So that was a little weird to grasp my head around. There's also the fact that there's 3 different colors of sockets and 3 different colors of gems, and they have to be placed. The gems have to be placed in sockets of the corresponding color. So because of my blue light filter, I spent like a good 2 hours confused as to why I couldn't put one gem in a specific socket, and it was because it was a blue gem and there was a green socket, and I couldn't tell because of the filter. Oopsies. Hey, I do it to myself, you know? It's worth it to prevent myself from getting a headache. Yeah, so there's also another little system where some sockets are linked, and a linked socket means that you can basically have an active skill, and then you could also put a support gem into the one it's connected to, and it'll basically give extra effects to the skill it's linked to. And not all of them are like compatible. It'll give you a list when you mouse over like the support gem of what skills you have equipped right now that it's compatible with. Yeah, and then gems themselves can level up the more that you use them, or no, it's they get like a portion of your XP, basically. Like 10% of the XP you get. Yeah, I think that's the basic rundown of how it works. It's just you get gems to equip to sockets on your gear, and that's how you get to use skills. So you actually you don't like earn abilities or level abilities, or like, you know, level into abilities really. You just find them. A lot of them are given as rewards. There's like there's merchants who will sell gems. Yeah, so like for instance, I decided that I was going to play the Witch because I thought the spell casting looked cool in this game. So I'm playing the Witch. I got my character I got right now. And I decided it would be fun to do a Chaos Witch. And Chaos in this game is like damage over time stuff. And what I really like is I really like drain tanking. I love it when I get to drain tank. When you get to... You aren't super tanky yourself in terms of health, but your abilities steal a bunch of life as they do damage. So I love the feeling of having like a million enemies wailing on me, and my health bar is just not moving at all. Like, that's really awesome to me. That's really fun. And it also encourages me to play aggressively, because if I get kills, for instance... So a lot of my health regain right now in my build comes from killing enemies. Like, just getting health back on kill. So I'll be, like, low on life, and I'll use one of my... I have this little Frost Blink ability. You teleport, and you do a little explosion of ice damage around you where you land. And it's just a big burst, right? It does a really good amount of damage for where I'm at right now. And when I do that, it tends to like kill some of the weaker enemies basically in one shot. So it's just like a quick just burst of healing, essentially. It's fun, like encourages me to play aggressively. It's fun to watch enemies' lives just sap away. It's a fun build. Also, that's the other thing is... I'll talk about the passive tree in a second. So, for instance, I have the first chaos skill I really got. It's called Blight. It's just like a little damage over time flamethrower. And the longer you channel it, you can hold it down. The longer you channel it, the more damage it does. In simple terms, like the more stacks it will add, the more damage I think they do. The longer the stacks will last. And so I put a support gem on that. I linked it to a support gem because I had it on my, like a wand I was using, which had a linked slot. Put a support gem on it to called Arcane Surge. And Arcane Surge means that when I spend over 15 mana on an ability, it triggers this buff called Arcane Surge. And it basically rapidly increases my mana regeneration and the spell damage I deal for a couple seconds, like 5 seconds or something like that. So I'm triggering that all the time. I basically have 100% mana all the time, just all the time. Just very like easy to conserve. Or I haven't even had to worry about conserving mana. So I've just kind of been playing this build, and I guess I should get into the passive tree. So the passive tree is one of the first things that people see, and it freaks them the fuck out. It's gigantic. Go look up a picture of it right now if you haven't seen the Path of Exile passive tree. It is extremely intimidating. Like I forget who it was. There's some like great clip of someone opening up the skill tree, looking at it for the first time, and going, nope, and then just closing the game. On stream. And it's yeah. Now, I'm not experienced enough with the game to tell you it's not actually that bad or something, or most people to tell you to just follow a build guide. I don't give a fuck about that, so I'm just kind of going where I want right now. So this might be really painful to you PoE heads, but I was like, okay, well, Chaos seems fun, so why don't I just head towards the Chaos Mastery? And then once I got that, I was like, what next? Oh, I want a drain tank. Can I steal life? Yeah, no, there's like a couple different areas on the passive tree that will give you life leech on the damage you deal. I'm like, let me go there. And I got that, and then what am I going for right now? I was going towards just more like getting life back on kill. And right now I'm in life back on kill, evasion, chance, whatever it's called, energy shield stuff, that kind of thing. I forgot exactly where I'm going on the tree, but yeah. And it's, I don't know, it's been making solid. I'm just kind of going wherever I want on the tree and trying to find like a little route around. If you have some kind of an idea, it's super open-ended. If you have some kind of an idea, at least, of like what you kind of want your build to be, I feel like it's not that bad. It hasn't been that bad for me. I've just kind of... It also has a search function, which is very helpful. I just kind of search, like, the thing that I want to go into next, and I try to find the closest thing that gives me that, or the thing that is, like, the most, like, oh, I can pick up some really useful stuff along the way. Or, like, stuff that I feel like I'm in need of. So, yeah, I honestly have not had that much of a problem with the passive tree. And the game's just really fun. Combat feels good. Once I got enough, like, I was under the misconception that I had to apply gems just to my weapon. No, literally anything. Like I said, literally anything that you're wearing. So I just started collecting little skill gems and then just slapping them into different areas on my my equipment. And I basically ended up with a nice little, like, actual chaos, like, rotation of abilities. So I have Blight, that's kind of like the cornerstone of my damage right now. My basic thing is that I have a little AoE, like, circular AoE poison thing. And then I have, like, this projectile that it does damage and then applies a debuff that deals more damage over time. And the damage over time heals me. And then when an enemy dies from it's called Contagion, is the little circular AoE one. When an enemy dies with that, it spreads to nearby enemies. And the debuff, the little life leech debuff, also spreads with it. So that's a little combo. And then I'll basically just do Contagion and then shoot my little life leech thing. And then I'll just press and hold down Blight and just start focusing. And then if I start getting low on health, I'll start using my Frost Blink to move around and just kill little swarms of enemies. Was I using another build? Oh yeah, I recently kind of got one that it's just another AoE that reduces chaos resistance against enemies. So it's like just a little support thing to do even more damages. And yeah, it's good. I'm on the trial. I'm doing some. What's it called? Trial of Ascendancy or something. It's like the first time I've been kind of like having a lot of trouble with a dungeon or something. Most of the dungeons have been pretty, like, I'm getting along. Like, I maybe died once or twice during a boss fight, but it has a pretty forgiving checkpoint system, like right outside the boss room, and you don't even have to restart it. I'm just playing like the standard league. So that's the other thing they have. They have these things called leagues. So there's a core content version of the game, which is just like the standard, like I think they just call it standard. That's like the core content basically. And then they have these things called leagues, and the leagues are like rotating. It's like the same game, all the base content, but then new stuff added on. And they rotate what's the league at. I don't know how often they rotate it. I didn't do that because I don't even want to bother. I don't care enough. Can I transfer to a league if I wanted to? Maybe. I don't know. I have not looked it up yet. I am probably a ways away from endgame. I'm like level 33 or something like that right now. But I'm having a really good time with it. It's a huge time sink. But it's very fun, and number go up. It's got a great gameplay loop. Just run around, going to a thing, clear out all the enemies in an area, pick up the most valuable items, go back to the town, sell them, and then get back on your merry way, doing whatever you were doing. And then you find a new thing, and then you find some item. Oh, it's cool. It's just like. Yeah, it's such a simple, just like, I actually, playing it now myself, I can 100% see why Diablo was such a big deal. Because it's like, yeah, this is just really fun. This is just really fun. Yeah. PoE. And it's all free. It's completely free. There's like a cash shop. And there's like a shop button like right in the main menu, like UI, which is like, it's kind of annoying. I don't really care for that, but hey, whatever, the game's free. Fucking, I'll put up with it. And apparently you can't really buy any kind of power in Path of Exile. It's just cosmetic stuff. So, alright, It's a free-to-play game. You gotta do what you gotta do. So, yeah, that's my conclusion. I will probably play more of it. I'll probably play more of it tonight.